Hello everyone, I'd like to present my case study to you. My client's name is Jesse. He is a 35-year-old Cuban male. Jesse was a self-referral to our agency. He came in for an intake the day after Christmas 2019. Jesse had been cutting himself during the Christmas holiday, and he reported having a history of cutting. 10 years ago, he attempted suicide by cutting and was hospitalized. Jesse had a traumatic childhood. He was raised in Cuba by his mother and his two half-brothers from his father's previous marriage. Jesse was brutally abused by his brothers. Apparently, their father had been abusive to Jesse's half-brothers, which became very violent, and eventually Jesse's father left the home and never returned. His brother turned their anger at their father to their brother Jesse. Jesse has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, insomnia due to other mental disorder, and major depressive disorder. Jesse moved to the United States 5 years ago with his mother. His half-brothers still live in Cuba. Jesse found a job, but due to his anxiety, he is now unable to work. Jesse stated they began to feel like his coworkers didn't like him and were trying to get him fired. Jesse's triggers are hearing people fight or loud noises such as someone yelling. Jesse's coping strategies are cooking Cuban cuisine, listening to music, reading, playing video games, and he has a dog that is very comforting to him. Jesse's dog has been a game changer for him. Jesse was isolating himself in his room, keeping to himself. He would come out to have meals with his mother and go right back to his room. Jesse now takes the dog out for walks, so he's at least getting himself out of the house. Jesse doesn't have any friends here. He recently found a volunteer position working with others like Jesse who suffer from depression and anxiety. But due to COVID-19, Jesse and his new friends can't meet in person anymore. And he doesn't like video calls. He says it's not the same. Jesse's been feeling depressed since he can't visit his friends anymore. I'm his first therapy to work with Jesse at our agency. Our first 2 sessions, we worked on rapport building and getting to know about him and his history. An issue I've been having with Jesse is that he will not discuss his PTSD. We work well together. We have been able to process his emotions regarding his depression and his anxiety. He's very open during these sessions. We discuss his triggers for his anxiety and depression, as well as his coping skills. When Jesse came to our agency, he was being prescribed his psych medications from his primary care physician. And Jesse said he didn't feel like his primary care physician knew enough about his mental health issues and didn't feel comfortable with his PCP prescribing his medications. So I had arranged an appointment with our psychiatrist for a psychological evaluation so we could provide his meds for him. While at this psychological evaluation, Jesse tested positive for marijuana. Jesse told the doctor that he was feeling anxious about the meeting as the reason that he tested positive. Our doctor said she understood, but we would be testing him at every session. At our last session, he was positive again. It was our last face-to-face session that we held. We sat down to discuss it, and Jesse told me he doesn't want to stop using marijuana. I reminded him of what the doctor said, but he didn't seem to listen. After the session, I messaged the doctor to let her know. My issue I'm dealing with now is with the telehealth meetings on the phone. I schedule an appointment with Jesse. We usually meet every other Friday. So last Friday we had an appointment, and when I called Jesse for our session, he was out running errands with his mom. We talked for about 10 minutes, and I discussed with Jesse that even though we're doing the telehealth appointments, he needs to take it seriously, and when I call, he could, be in his room where it's quiet, there's no distractions, and everything he says is confidential. But he didn't really take me seriously. So we talked for about 10 minutes, and I could hear his mother talking to him while I was trying to talk to him, and we lost reception. I called back, and it would go straight to voicemail. So since that meeting, I've called him probably 3 times, and I staffed this with my field supervisor, and she said, let's try to call him at different times of the day. Let's just call and leave like a personal message saying, hey, I just haven't heard from you, and I really am looking forward to talking to you again. Try to keep it upbeat and not just say, hey, call me back. You need to schedule an appointment. So I'm just worried that without having these face-to-face sessions, Jesse's not going to continue therapy and continue to use marijuana and take his psych meds, which scares me. Cultural aspect, Jesse's from a tropical island, and now he lives in central Indiana. Danville is a small town where he is now living, and Danville's not known for accepting outsiders. Jesse feels that he's unable to make any new friends due to the traditions of a small town. Jesse states he doesn't feel like he could be himself here. Our agency has a strict confidentiality policy. Each consumer is provided a medical record number. This policy helps keep any names out of any of the paperwork. To add to the confidentiality, many items in this case study has been changed for his protection. Evidence-based theory. I've used person-centered therapy and solution-focused therapy with Jesse. I use person-centered therapy that allows Jesse to take the lead in discussions with the idea that he will start to come up with solutions on his own. Solution-focused therapy and person-centered therapy use the same techniques. The evidence-based model used at our agency is cognitive behavioral therapy. We use CBT so consumers like Jesse can see that his own thoughts and emotions play a fundamental role in his behavior. The population that he lives in is rural, which Jesse's not used to and does not like living in a rural area. He has stated to me that he felt discriminated against in his town when he goes to stores. He feels like security is always watching him. Limitations. Complete confidentiality would be one of the limitations for Jesse. Our agency works hard to keep our consumer information confidential, but no agency is perfect. Another limitation is that if Jesse is pushed to work on his trauma and he refuses, we will lose him as a consumer. In our sessions, we hope to focus on what the consumer would like to work on in therapy. I hope that with Jesse's help and good therapy practices, Jesse will be able to process his trauma and be able to move past this part of his life. I really would like everyone's guidance. I have kind of 3 questions about Jesse. How do I get him to discuss his trauma? And is it too late? Our internships are done in 2 weeks, so I wanted to leave him with this really good base of therapy, and because he doesn't want to discuss his trauma, I feel like there's a piece missing. How do I get through to him about taking his meds while still smoking marijuana? He just doesn't seem interested in hearing about the side effects that could happen. He just feels like he knows best. And how do I get him to take these telehealth appointments seriously? He just doesn't seem interested, and I'm worried about losing him as a consumer. I can't wait to hear everyone's suggestions. Thank you so much. Bye.